Welcome back, everyone, to the Complete Pineleaf. For last time, we heard the story of the raid on Barad-dûr, where they managed to destroy the Vandasar that was keeping the Easterling horde together. And we also learned a few things about Gandalf's distant past. So let's see what Glorfindel has to say now.
And so it is done.
When I beheld Orlorine in a new guise in the Third Age, I knew him to be Lendelin come again, and yet he knew nothing of his former life, and remembered nothing of the trials he endured within Barad-dûr. I could think of one reason only for that. The Valar had kept the memory of that experience from him as a mercy and a kindness. For if he remembered the cruel tortures that he suffered in the hands of Sauron, how could he oppose the Dark Lord upon his return, knowing the extent of Sauron's malice? And so we chose not to speak of Lindolin or his sad fate within the Dark Tower during the final days of the Second Age. I did not wish to inflict this harm upon Orlorin, Mithrandir, or Gandalf, and for that I beg his forgiveness. Lindolin was my closest adviser, my dearest friend, and I failed him. I thought it best to leave his memory behind, for if that was the purpose of the Valar, I would not wish to do otherwise. And what does Gandalf, or what other name he's using, have to say about that?
Do not trouble yourself, Glorfindel, on my account.
All that was kept from me has been restored, and I don't begrudge you for keeping secrets that which the Valar had from me. Indeed, in this knowledge I find reassurance, for I see now that my reluctance to oppose Sauron directly was born from Lendolin's sad fate. And is it not true that Frodo's quest proved successful, and the ring and the Dark Lord both defeated at one stroke? Indirect opposition found success where direct opposition could not. And in that, I may say the Bright Company came at last to have its greatest triumph. For I remember now what happened, which I did not before. I know the end of this tale. Ooh?
While Sauron tormented Lendilin within Barad-dûr, his enemies were not idle.
Yes, the leaders of the Great Alliance met once more in secret. A trap was decided upon, a trap with which to ensnare Sauron and draw him forth from the tower. The Lady Galadriel had remained at Minas Ithil after she and Lord Celeborn drove the Nazgûl from the valley. Now she sent her thought to Lindolin, and she spoke directly through Sauron's prisoner to the Dark Lord. One broke the gates of Ithil, Lindolin said, as his breaths upon him, and Sauron laughed, for he had the mastery. Two sundered the ramparts of Morannon, Lindolin continued, and doubt began to gnaw at the Dark Lord. He had long feared the elven rings, and in his secret heart he dreaded to think of that they could be used against him. But three, Lindolin said, as the last of his strength departed. The power of the three, wielded together, shall cast you down at last. And so Lindolin perished, and his final words remain hidden to me for the past age. But now I know what they wrought, for it was by this message that the deceiver was himself deceived. Sauron climbed to the pinnacle of Barad-dûr, and looking from the vast height he beheld a shining figure ascending the slopes of Mount Doom. Fear seized him, and he imagined that Gil-galad possessed all three elven rings, and would use them together to destroy him. For the three were hidden from his sight, but he thought he could sense that they had been united at last. Ooh, that is tricksy.
The Dark Lord unleashed the last of his armies in a final bid to destroy his enemies.
I was with my king on this day. I know what then befell. Well, you need all four of them to get the entire story then. First, you needed Isildur talking about what all that happened and all that went on. Then we needed Glorfindel to say what happened in the tower. Then we needed Gandalf to say how they set up the trap. And finally, we need Elrond, who was right at the location, right next to Gil-galad and Isildur when the final battle was done. Whew, quite a combination there. The Dark Lord opened his gates and emptied Barad-dûr, unleashing the last of his armies in a final bid to destroy those who besieged him. On the slopes of Mount Doom, he brandished his black mace of Mordangi Morgagnir, wading through friend and foe alike, until at last he faced the High Kings of the Alliance. The One Ring shone on his finger, and he sent forth his evil thoughts, seeking to dominate Gil-galad's mind when he donned the three. But he did not see it. Gil-galad threw back his head and laughed at Sauron, and the Dark Lord was filled with rage. "The rings of my people may be together," my liege declared, "but they are far from here, far from you." And Sauron knew that he had been deceived, lured from the safety of his tower, and he knew his peril. But above all else, he desired to inflict anguish upon those arrayed before him. He sent his will into the One Ring, and his foes were held fast by this spell. Sauron fell upon them in deadly combat, and great gouts of ash and flame roared from the peak of Mount Doom. I stood on the slopes, too far to aid my king, but near enough to feel the terrible heat of the battle. Even now I can feel it, and I know the pain of that day anew. Oh, and we get Defiant Cloak of Many Dooms. Doom. Ooh, well, that's a decent upgrade, I think, is a good way of putting that.
That day, as battle raged upon Gorgoroth, the fates of many were decided. Gil-galad and Elendil challenged the Dark Lord, and he answered with a power none could resist. But as the enemy toyed with his foes, the kings of elves and men struck. It was their greatest deed, and their last. And after, as payment for so many losses, and Weirgild for his father's death, Isildur claimed his prize, the ruling ring.
So pretty much ended the Second Age.
Sauron was defeated, but at great cost.
Elves and men wept for their lost kings, for the like of Gil-galad and Elendil would never come again. But there was joy too, for the war was ended, and none can see the sorrows of the age to come. The ring should have been destroyed on that day, but it was not. Isildur took the ring as payment for the death of his father and the travails of his people, an heirloom of his house, and a record of their triumph over evil. The several kindreds that composed the alliance returned to their homelands, nursing their grief and holding dear the memory of their triumph. we believed Sauron to be gone forever, and it was not so. It was not so. 2 years of peace? Well, only 2 years?
My memory is less certain of the years following the defeat of Sauron.
Gothava's enchantment still reaches my mind, and I find it difficult to clearly recall the events that transpired. There were 2 years of peace, that I know, and during those years the kingdom of Gondor was restored to order. Vows were taken before the oath stones, and a tomb made for my father at Aman Anwar. It was to be a hallowed place. At last it was time for me to take up my father's place on the high throne in the north. My queen and my youngest son waited for me in Rivendell, where they marked the time during the war, so I chose not to sail. With a company of knights, my sons, and the heirlooms of my house, I rode north, to my death and the death of my sons. We were all of us betrayed. You have agreed to help me to avenge this treachery, Pineleaf, but I don't see the face of my betrayer, and I can't remember what befell. In my mind's eye I see only a chamber of white stone, with a white stone beneath a rotating beacon, but all of it is hazy, as if to look upon a great distance. I do not know what this vision signifies. Gothava's enchantment releases its grip upon my mind but slowly, and it leaves only mystery in its wake. What? Oh. You have an idea, Gandalf?
Yes, my friend. I know what chamber Isildur describes.
Ooh, what is that? Many places fall now into place for me. For as Lindolin, I knew many things and saw much. It is as if a room that has been sealed to me has been flung open, and while the pain is unwelcome, the knowledge is not. I deem it a worthy trade, though Glorfindel regrets the necessity. This I believe, Pineleaf. It was known to Sauron's servants that Isildur perished in the Gladden fields. They scoured the swamplands hereabouts in search of the ring, but they found it not. In time, his bones were recovered and borne away to places of great evil, perhaps to the very houses of lamentation, it is said, to lie hidden somewhere within Mordor. What unholy rites were performed with his remains? I hazard not guessed. But, in time, perhaps even the servants of Sauron tired of this villainy, and his bones were brought to some chamber where they, in time, were forgotten. The white stone Isildur describes must be the Vandasar of Duath, which stood in Minas Ithil until the forces of Sauron captured that city during the Second Age. It was moved to Barad-dûr at the direction of the Witch King, hauled on a great wagon pulled by the chill trolls of the Gorgoroth. It was in the Dark Tower that the Bright Company broke the spells upon it. After the war, when the Alliance razed Barad-dûr to its foundation, the Vandasar must have been returned to Minas Ithil. So that explains the white stone. What of the rotating beacon? Indeed, there was a beacon of some note in that city, kept in an upper chamber atop Barad Curon, the Tower of the Crescent Moon. It seems to me that the bones of Isildur came to lie within this tower. If this shade finds rest, their bones must be recovered. But let us not now dwell upon this task. We have seen some time away from the Bjorning lands, and Grimbeorn may worry about our absence. Grimbeorn won't be. He'll be glad of our absence, probably. Yes, we should return to him and assure him that we still have need of his hospitality. I desire also to return to my study of the Black Book of Mordor, for I see now that some things I long held to be certain were perhaps not so, and I wonder at some avenues of learning that I might have dismissed too readily. Well then, I guess it's time to get back to the Bjorninghouse. I trust that you're able to cope without us for a few hours?
So, the wizard and the elves have not gone.
And here I hope that you might have all gone and taken that wizard with you, but my hopes are now dashed. I think that's the greeting that I was expecting.
If they remain, you must still perform the chores I ask of you.
Right, as long as they remain, you've got chores to do. We have need of firewood, for so near to the mountains the nights can get cold even in the summer. And there are still orcs and wargs about, despite your efforts of the other day. Put an end to their raids and teach them lessons about persistence. Carry out these chores, and I will allow the wizard and the elves to stay a little while longer. So collect firewood from the Bjorning lands, defeat orcs in the Bjorning lands, and defeat wargs in the Bjorning lands. The more things change, the more things stay the same. Apparently I need to collect an amount of firewood that exceeds my mass. Yeah. What do you do? Put a Pineleaf life-size statue with it or something? Ah! I found the wargs. I think Isildur's story confused me so much I forgot where they were located. Well, at least now I have found them and I could help to pay for our night's rest at the Bjorninghouse. Not that I expect to have any real rest there, because I'm sure that Gandalf will just have more quests for me to do. Like he always does. It is Gandalf who always tries to keep me busy. Even if telling stories. Now, let's go and find those orcs. Ah, the entrance to the wells of Langflood. Now, we're not ready to go into Langflood yet. That'll probably be in about another month or two where we start to go there. But the entrance is guarded by an orc or three. Enough of them to give me a bad day, right? Well, I'll just take care of the orcs and then get back to Grimbjorn. I am back with the firewood.
Yes, very good, fine.
You've done the chores that I asked you to undertake and earned the wizard and the elves a few more days of hospitality. There is something else, however. It's not a matter of real concern, but I find that I have not heard from the elves at the forest gate for some time, and I wonder if it signals some trouble for my folk. If it does, I would have this problem resolved early rather than later. Go to the forest gate and make certain that the elves have things well in hand. If they don't, be sure to tell them so. If they don't, be sure to tell them so. Oh, okay. If I judge that they have it and the elves don't think they have things in hand, all right, to the elven gate. Well, there's obviously been some trouble here. I suspect, though, that they didn't miss the presence of orcs, because I'm sure they're the ones responsible for them being in a state of dead, right? Hello there, Thiendrief.
A raiding party of orcs sought to leave the forest. You can see what happened to them.
Yes, it is curious indeed for orcs to challenge us on the road. Did they not know that our quivers held their doom? They did seem driven by some desperate haste, Search the bodies, and you may learn what caused them to dare the gate to their sorrow. Yes. Alright. Why did they wish to go through the gate instead of through some other exit? Search the orc, find nothing to explain their presence here. Alright. What about this orc? This orc bears the symbol of Ugrachor, captain of the pit. Oh, fun. Ugrachor's orcs. And this one? This orc died wielding his sword, but it did not protect him. Alright, and what about this one? And you find nothing of interest on this dead orc. Alright. Well, not much useful except for the symbol of Ugrachor.
Their need must have been great to challenge us, and they paid dearly for it.
Did you find anything that might explain why the orcs dared to attempt a passage at the forest gate? Their need must have been great. Wait a moment. Did you say that you searched the bodies of 4 orcs? That's most peculiar. By my bow, I would swear that the raiding party consisted of not of 4 orcs, but of 5. Can it be that one of these slipped through the forest gate while we were distracted by the others? Search to the south of the Bjorning lands for our missing orc. There may be some tracks that you can follow to his hiding place, if you make some haste. Alright, search the Bjorning lands for an orc. Oh, wonderful! We should call an all points bulletin for missing orc. I'm sure that there is some possibility that we could find one at some point. The tracks seem to be leading towards this area right here. Well, not likely to be hiding in here, is he? You found the missing orc's hiding place, but he's dead. Oh. Well, maybe he was hit and he got away afterwards. Possible. Crumpled note. The note speaks something called a false girth. To which Gandalf may be interested, yes. We found what you sent in search of, Ugrachor, but my boys need a big reward if you think we're going to give it to you. There were elves crawling all over that ruin, and we barely escaped with our lives. Obviously, this was written before their ultimate fate was decided. We had to take the long way, and ran into some trouble with her minions. They were going our way, and none of the boys wanted to chance it. We're going to try the Elf Gate next. Alright, so, let's see, her minions. The capital her means it has to be Shelob. So that means spiders. They ran into spiders and decided to take the Elf Gate instead. But we found the opening spell, or part of it anyway. The Fachgruth won't remain closed to you any longer. How badly do you want it? Maybe me and my boys will bring these words to Gothmog. He'll find them very interesting, wouldn't he? And I wager he'd be quite generous. You promised a reward. Double it, and he'll never see this opening spell. I'm sure that you'll make the right decision, boss. Alright, let me see if I can understand this correctly. He is trying to blackmail Ugrachor. Well, be happy the elves killed you. Ugrachor would have done worse to you, I'm sure. Alright, let's get back to Gandalf. Gandalf, I found a rather strange orc that was trying to leave the forest through the open gate.
Oh, you have returned. What is it?
False girth? No, I've never heard of it before. That's not important right now. I need to speak to you, Pineleaf. Oh, you need to speak with me. What does he want to talk about now? Something to do with the Black Book? Maybe we'll find that out in the next episode of The Complete Pineleaf.